Hello, and welcome back to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. Today we are doing, oh man, words, Annex, which is book 3 in the Artorian Archive series by Dennis Vanderkerken and Dakota Krout. And if you couldn't tell, I got a little distracted today. I found these Lego glasses and was deciding what to put on them. I hope you like them. They're like a teal color, and it's kind of funky with my green screen. It's like trying to key them out.
I
Just
was
like,
trying to figure out if it was you brought back the snap cam thing or something, and I think part of it was because of the green screen kind of messing with it. Like I'm like, wait, what is it?
yeah,
Are they real? Are they not real? What is reality? Is he,
very true.
using some essence cycling technique there to increase his vision, or are they just Lego glasses with was that Squirtle up in the middle?
Yeah, I was tempted to do like something book related, do like a little cave and be like the origin for we start in the cave and then do like a little fire thing for hey, the fire's what
Oh.
saved us. And I was like, how do I show a dwarven shoe for like act 2? And I was like, Lego people don't wear shoes. So I wasn't sure how to display that. And then
Mm,
I was like, and then how do you show a sun? I don't know. It didn't quite come together. I wasted way too much time on it. But yeah, Artorian
there's
Archives book 3.
no such thing as wasted time with Legos.
Nope.
You might have just started a new thing though, so we'll be watching
I
next
didn't even
week to
know
see.
they were a thing until I was at a yard sale and I saw them and I was like, oh, what is this and why is it not in my life? And then I picked him up. Anyway, but much like Arturian does, he's always re-envisioning or changing up his, or well, I guess not anymore, changing up his cultivation path.
You're just
Only
jealous of his sunglasses he picked up in book
I
2,
I was
right?
tempted to do something funky where it's like the whatever the Ray-Bans where they actually have the bars across them, but already, yeah. Anyway,
But yeah, back on point. Yay, more Artorian.
yep.
Into book 3 and all its epic goodness.
I
Like
also
not
had Dennis stop by with his
yes, thank you.
Dwarven customs.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Um yeah, so not to go extremely out of order, but we have finally found the whole family, right? Up there at the end of book
Yes.
3, we tracked down our last two boys
Mm-hmm.
and had to leave in a hurry where we broke our cultivation again. But like as far as our mission at the beginning of book 5, get to all our fringe kids, grandkids, mission accomplished. How's it feel?
I not quite conclusive. It's
Not quite.
good that we took out the serpentine person, but the mistress or whatever who's going to fill the power void, I feel like there's still going to be more that has to develop there, as
Mhm.
well as back a book where they're talking about the they're not sure who gets what essence channels, and they didn't explicitly say it, but I'm pretty sure 3 of his 5 children have infernal essence channels, um, from the bone manipulation and the just dissolving people, as well as oh uh Ashea the Nightmare?
Okay.
Australia? I don't know. I forgot the name, but yeah. And with that being said, they all grew up in the Fringe, and the Fringe or the Salt Flats or whatever is supposed to be celestial in nature from the dungeon, but
Right.
since they all ended up with infernal infinity channels, I'm Australia, the
Mm.
nightmare. Thank you. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, Kara again helping us with all the lore and details because Peter and I just get distracted by the sunshine and love and forget about the details. Um,
But yeah, so the ending didn't really feel, I don't know, he acted as if he had done everything on his list and he ripped up the imaginary paper or whatever, but
mhm.
he also told his son to take care of his other son. So I don't know if they're like
We
free, or
we at
if
least
they're
know they're
like,
safer, right? Like they were at the top of the list, and this last guy who was keeping them um, in service or whatever, Artorian was able to eliminate at the expense of his cultivation once again.
yeah.
How was the combat for you in this book?
There was more, but yet
Mm-hmm.
again, it was very philosophical combating. I do
Fight smart, not
enjoy
hard.
the beginning where it was Blight, and I kind of felt like book two, it felt a little rushed, like it didn't quite conclude very well. But then the fact that it was just wispy tendrils or whatever, and then the Blight was still around, as well as, where's your core? And then,
Mhm.
developing more for the unique aspects of it being an element and element of the infernal, and then that makes more sense for why Sky Spear had more infernal cultivators and influences. um
Mm,
yeah, so all the characters die, story's over, where they all go down the hill to go on their infernal pilgrimage, and yeah, they're gone.
yeah, we lost a lot of students in the battle, right? I'm trying to think
We
back, like,
lost a lot of everything.
yeah, yeah, and I not that I want to see it happen, but it's always main character immunity and stuff gets a bit tiresome. Like we know Artorian's not going anywhere, but to see that like these big epic battles take there's a toll on both sides, right?
Hmm.
It really kind of plays to the character development with Artorian. Like we've seen him pretty much rebuild himself several times at this point. um, and I'm trying to think, they blur together, but uh, it's at the beginning of this book that we have it with Ember as she goes and picks kind of the
Starts to
celestial and fire law.
actualize, or so I think
Yeah.
it's the end of, we get to see a snippet at the end of two, because we
Okay.
know she's on her way to find Arturian, and we get
Right.
her hanging out with the S rankers of fire,
But
and
book.
she's like, haha, I found something fire can do that you didn't know it could do. Just
Mhm.
kidding. I opened a celestial channel, but it turns out that as long as I don't conflict with the prior laws, I can make one. And she makes her own like holy fire law, because celestial
Right.
already has them and fire already has them, which is kind of weird in the fact that those two still get demoted as she's
Hmm.
actualizing, because I figure if she's into a new law where she's celestial
Oh,
fire
yeah, yeah,
and they're
yeah.
just fire.
But partially to do with there can only be one. So as she's like going through it, perhaps. Yeah, Ember to Dawn. Um,
Yep,
I,
fire
I,
to, I plus, like, I just enjoy her name and her, it didn't really talk about her specific soul space. It talked about her becoming one and an understanding and a self-image,
hmm.
and to be what comes after, what, the exploding of the sun, or the, yeah,
Yes, the
it's pretty
Dawn.
good. As
Yeah.
well as, sorry, sidestep, at the very beginning, probably my favorite line, or I got the biggest chuckle, was the Blight's evil villain monologue, and how he was like, I am the missing sock. and it goes off on a couple other things. But yeah, got way more of a chuckle than I probably should have about evil villain monologue into
Yes.
it's a common thing. Everybody has it happen. The missing
Yep.
sock in the wash.
Yep. Yep. Um, White Thatch, while we were talking about Ember and Dawn's elevation, said, but there is higher laws in the tower, so it still doesn't quite fit. So we read about the tower a bit in the Divine Dungeon series, and it's been a while since um, I've read through that section, but we do get more of the lore about the
Well,
progression and the
that's
laws,
what
right?
was weird too, and it's because a lot of it came from the Blight, where he was saying the tower was messed up, and at the end of the Golden Age was when they stopped adding to the tower, and one of the last
Mm-hmm.
ones that they added was Madness, which we know our S ranker or our double triple S ranker in the Divine Dungeon series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there was a lot of like great developmental stuff that came out of that early chapters. Um,
We I was about to say, like, once we get through this series, it would be a lot of fun to go back and just kind of piece it together.
yeah.
Because I believe Dennis confirmed for us in the previous stream just kind of the arcs and how it spreads across
I
Dakota Krout's
think
primary
1 to
series.
3 is before Divine Dungeon, and
Hmm.
then 4 to 6 is with or inside Divine Dungeon, and then continuing was supposed to be the along with Completionist Chronicles.
Hmm. So yeah, kind of back on to the tower, White Thatch. The higher you go in the tower, the more affinities the law have. And Kara commented, Ember's actualization of who she wants to be and represent into Dawn, a new start with hope. Chef's kiss. So, yeah, and Artorian kind of helps her with that actualization, right? Where she pretty much embodies everything she wanted her daughter to be. Um, and in a way, it's kind of like a rebirth for her, right? We got to
Yeah,
see some
because
of her
you get to see
PTSD in book one with the blight and everything, and yeah,
we got to see Arturian share his memory of his what they call it, philosopher's trick, for his
yeah,
him
like
being
the
around the
rebirths.
fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he's pretty much on like his fourth or fifth one at this point in the series, where he's pretty much like we get to see him go through that cycle with the fringe in book one, where he puts it down. He's no longer the village elder; he's now Artorian, and just embodies that image of himself and mentalization, right?
Yep. Being around the bonfire.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I'm
finally starting to cool down to where we might be able to have bonfire season here locally.
I
That heat was just too crazy the last couple of weeks. Anyway, back into fantasy.
Yeah, we also I don't know learned a lot from the blight, but we don't know if it's true. And then we get the glimpse of after Dawn becomes Dawn, how she is an elemental, but she's not an elemental. And then once you get up into heavenly, you cease being able to interact with the world, but you
So,
become the nature of the law.
right. Artorian is just like such the epic grandpa-ness. Kara said she went looking for affirmation of who she was, only for him to tell her only she can decide who she is.
I
Like that's such a solid grandpa move. And just because, uh, squirrel shiny all over the place, like the audiobooks are amazing and I love them. But one of my pet peeves is they rarely ever talk about the dedications like in physical books, when you read it, like at the beginning, it has like a dedication section dedicated to, and I didn't check this one because we always do the audio, but when I was looking at the previous book, I believe Dennis like dedicated the book to his granddad and talks about how like a lot of like pulling from that and just the solid Artorian ultimate dad slash granddad vibes. Um, like the moments when he's talking about with the kids, he believes that uh, the children should be the one to decide how long the hug lasts. Like even when, oh, brain fart. I'll pull up names for reference of his kids, but yeah.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought with that one, but there's a lot of good stuff or potential for going backwards, as well as, more developmental stuff for going forwards, and how above Triple S is heavenly. And I really enjoyed the aspect of when you become heavenly and you embody and you are the law and no longer dealing with the meat space or whatever they call it.
Mhm.
y- like Light's friend who actually became the land law, and how all that gets incorporated, as well as the dungeon. And it seems like they have similar rankings, but they're also separate, and how getting into the C rank, the dungeon steals part of the cultivation, but it's just weird because it's like, how is it connected to all this space?
Mhm. Yeah. Um,
Standout character for this book is Alexandria, the young. She's got a lot of potential going forward. The young librarian, because she
yes.
ends up getting Dawn as a shadow, which is pretty epic, as well as she has Blanket as uh, someone to take care of her. So she's pretty set up.
There's a lot of fun characters in this series. Um, it's going to be interesting. We keep talking about it, but like going back and doing the Divine Dungeon series as well and the other series just to see the crossover from a different direction.
Well, okay, so speaking of that, he kind of like I probably did it on purpose, but he talks about, it's just like a exploding shoe, or a grandma's exploding shoe, before he even meets the dwarves.
I
And
loved
then
that scene.
that you get her and her exploding shoe and everything else, as well as in further in the Completionist Chronicles series, you end up with a landmark of Grandma's shoe, of which is explosive in
Oh,
nature.
good,
So I thought it was like, is that what it is? Was it just inspiration?
good catch, dude.
What's
Good
going on
catch.
here? So
Once
yeah,
once we get current, we need to take advantage of that whiteboard you have, or do like a virtual whiteboard as we just go and connect all the
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
dots and everything. And book, 3.5 of AA, the connection to CC 6.3. AA Book 1, quote, he was the firm belief that it is a child who determined the length of a hug, as you just never know how deeply they needed one. Thank you, Kara. And I think we get to see that again in just about every book right there. Um, so yeah, if you're in a safe space in the middle of the pandemic where hugs are allowed, make sure you give somebody a hug. The world needs more hugs, people. Just make sure to wash your hands before and after. Um,
Um,
mm,
Random side note, White, oh, you do it.
uh,
White Thatch said, if Dennis is still here, I've got more work for you in Alexandra's side quest. Um, I'm sure he's
I'd
still
listen
hanging
to
out,
it.
but I would recommend checking out the Mountaindale Press Discord. Um, but yeah, probably good way to do it. And I don't know
Hmm.
where Dennis stands as far as like side quests. I know Dakota did the Rexus side quest and he enjoyed it, but he said he wasn't going to go back for side quests until he completed the main series. I have a love-hate relationship with side quests. I thoroughly enjoyed Rexus and thought it was amazing, but it, numbers get weird.
Uh,
Numbers get weird, so it's hard enough to know a reading order as they come out and release, let alone side quests. And it's, yeah. Anyway, so I don't know.
Rexus grew on me. Initially, I admit to being one of the purest diehards where I'm like this is super cool, but I want more of the main stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Rexus is just so much fun. Um, oh, there we go from the man himself.
No side quests for me. All main
Main se-
series, you will see all of the characters come back and give updates.
There we have it. There we have it. More epic, awesome grandpa-ness.
Though I don't know how exactly that works. I know there's a lot of like fan fiction out in the world and like fan art. I don't know.
Anyway,
Don't
anyway,
take my advice because I don't know. Um,
back onto it. We there's just always so much that happens in these books, which makes it so much fun, right? Like open up with fighting the blight and dawn, and just kind of like that whole element there, and then the two competing uh, calls on him with like the mana contracts, right?
mhm.
Getting to see the dwarves split from the church, our High Inquisitor from early on in the series. Pretty much like half of his life is dedicated to the church, so he sides with his family. And
Well,
Artorian,
so
gets in on Grandmama's good side, which like that whole scene as Artorian being clever-witted him playing the whole,
oh yeah,
ignorant, bashful grandpa, and then all of a sudden the little old lady's walking him into the meeting room and he's like, there's plenty of seats here. Shouldn't we go here? Shouldn't, like, oh, what? Like very front, like, wait, what? Like
yeah.
this throne thing here, this is where we're going. Oh, snap. It was kind of fun seeing Artorian kind of get a bit over his head for once. Um yeah. And then the mage armor bit as we see the dwarves like really going out of their way to be overly intimidating and everything as they
Or
don't
yeah, for
realize.
providing the persona and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it was so much fun.
Well,
Um,
that yeah, a lot of chuckles throughout it. The evil villain monologue by the Blight, and then after that was with his celestial daughter and the infernal one, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure as soon as we get out of here, he's gonna be, oh, what took you so long? And here's some food, and let me
right,
ask you
here's some
questions so you can
cookies.
talk." And just the
Sure
way it
enough,
got like translated, steal swarmy boys ahead. And they're like, "What?" But then it got explained, and yeah, a lot of good moments.
that's what's so fun about these books. Like good laugh. You laugh, you cry, you keep rooting for Grandpa. Um, and then the scene with the church as he goes and kind of like plays on their doubt, right? Like in a
Uh,
way, we need to get back to Dune, but I'm kind of like, man, he's pulling like some like Benny Gesserit moves here, where it's like that's not what I say, it's what I don't say, and I let your mind kind of like fill in the gaps here to, I'm just going to channel this energy, this persona, and let you think like, and if, let's theoretically say, I was to, X, Y, and Z, like,
I honestly like
hmm,
I don't care for the church in this environment, and it's just all the way around because we get
yeah,
them riching out Jibra's spiral, and we get them putting
not everybody can be
Hadric
Father Richard.
Fellhammer under it, as well as we get to meet the little girl who has the discolored eyes, and it's designed to have celestial influence so that people or she sees what people want her to see, and having that effects in the world. And
Hmm.
then just yeah.
Yeah. Before I forget, I pulled it up. The two boys that we get to see in the beginning of this book is Grimaldus and Tychus. And Tychus is our guy that I think they said was like 11 feet tall or something. He's just like a mountain of a guy. And then Grimaldus is our necromancer. And Carl White Thatch, Dennis, please correct me if I got those flipped. Um, let's see here. Kara said Astria and Gibra.
Arstrea and Gebra.
Gibra. Like, watch, he'll be like, here, eat this food while I ask you questions when your mouth is full. And he does just that. Yep. 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 Gosh, Carl, we always appreciate it when you roll through here and help us get the facts. Poor Priscilla and her pink eyes, more susceptible to celestial manipulation, but to what end? Who did it? Thank you, thank you.
And that reminds me of another like just great life philosophy thing. It happened several times throughout it, and it's just kind of Artorian's MO for you looked but you didn't see. A philosopher doesn't answer the question, they ask the right question. And I just yeah.
And it's a good overall philosophy to have, right? Like, make sure you're asking better. Yep. Thank you, Kara. Tychus, the large external cultivator, and Grimaldus, the necromancer. And would love to catch Dennis on the Discord sometime and just get him to expand upon this. But it's like a common theme we keep coming back to throughout the series is like the type of cultivation you have and just kind of how it influences your persona and
Or yeah,
your
he we
attitude.
get that in book one where
And
he's
it keeps,
dealing and isolating with all the corruptions and the effects it has on you.
yeah, and we keep coming back to that where like you would traditionally think like, oh, celestial, like manna from the heavens, that should be good versus,
It turns out to be more of like a righteous or
yeah, or when they both are mixed, celestial and, oh, help me out here, the counterbalance.
infernal creates chaos.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because we had Rose. Haha, remember the name for once. The Chaos Cultivator.
And Artorian is everything but infernal, right?
And
So,
Earth.
oh, there we go. Dennis said he's got a whole breakdown in the later books for you for that. I think some are even out. Ha 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 ha. More goodies to come. Keep on reading the series. Like we needed more excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this book, like we spent all that time building up our academy just to give over the land ownership. Pull some clever moves with the
But
dwarves
did
to
we
get some
really?
help.
We did, but we didn't. And that's kind of, I guess, if we're continuing, gets us to the second point because we get the Blight, we get Ember who turns into Dawn, and
Mhm.
then we get the revoking the land laws, which kicks Arturian out or tries to, and then yeah, we get the two opposing writs of come here, and the weird like hidden
Yeah,
between the lines are literally melded between the paper,
no,
and
no
then
wonder he has trust issues with the church.
but he gives them away, so to speak, but not really because it's a dwarven family, and we get to see when we leave the celestial town, and he essentially gets all that gold, not gold, essence enhanced. Give
Ethereum?
shut or yeah, take my money kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he gives it back to him, as well as he's created several strong bonds.
I think you can meme that. And I'm pretty sure we forgot this. My bad.
We did. It's
Um,
all good.
oh, it reminds me, I meant to ask you while I'm ADDing. Um, so love the new intro with the beats from what's it?
Our
Our
stream beats, Harris
stream
Heller.
beats, Harris Heller, free music rights if you guys need them for any of your stuff. Do you intentionally get the song to drop off like 45 seconds to a minute right before, to where if we're listening, we're like, oh, the beat's coming to an end, we gotta tune in, and
No,
then
he
have that
tends to
little bit
have a lot
extra?
of dead
Or
air at the end of his stuff, and I currently just have it
mm,
imported through a VLC file, so it's
okay.
directly from it. And then there's also it being on a mechanical drive, so it's reading it, and then transition between songs is at mechanical speed.
I'm just going to give you credit for knowing that when I'm getting ready to need to be on mic with a hot mic, I hear the song end. I'm like, oh snap, here we are. And it's like, oh wait, I got 30 seconds more to get it together. Um, yeah, yeah. Yes, Stream Beats, awesome stuff. Kara, the corruption exaggerating the negative traits a person may have is interesting. So someone already hot-headed, going berserk with fire, when being flighty slash shifty focus, constantly, etc. Yeah. And we see him as he's going and messing with the different essences like that in book one, right?
Right, as well as
Like,
it stays pretty true through the Divine Dungeon series. You know, Hans has a major air affinity and he's very flighty, and
yeah, yeah.
Tom ends up with, being a fire cultivator and ends up very berserker.
hmm it's a very easy learning curve in this book series, which is great. You know, as it continues to expand on the lore, the realm, the how cultivation and everything works. Um, there we go. Carlos with a shout out for Paradox Gaming Network is doing the same thing with steampunk music. Nice,
Interesting.
nice. Uh, yeah,
So, sidestep on that note, it is very hard to search. So if you're searching words, it's like, hey, here's a word, there's a word. Words. If you're searching images, it's hard to portray or convey what you want, as well as music. Like you get those feels, and it's just, yeah, complicated to search. But Grandma's shoe exploding is not that hard to search. Everybody knows. And that's, I guess, kind of where we left off. And yeah, like the whole figuring out of Don's armor was accidental, and then ends up saving our bacon and helping us out going further.
bacon.
Yep.
Have you gotten your DBZ reference in this book yet?
I haven't.
All right, all right. You still got time. So, you were talking a little bit earlier about how as they go higher up in cultivation, they start kind of like replacing their meatware with mana and all that other good stuff and
Yeah.
essence and so on and so forth. Um, we really get to see that with Artorian, especially at the end of the battle, as it's doing kind of like a breakdown when he comes to of like, I think it talks about like part of a kidney being missing and just how like his body overall, um, as it's going through and repairing, makes it to where he's able to survive stuff that normal non-cultivators couldn't
I guess
survive
that's not what I
anymore.
got out of that conversation. What I got out of that conversation is gnomes are real,
Gnomes rule.
and that's a separate book. But yeah, I almost said it. Gnomes are
Uh,
real, and they had to shatter his webway for part of
right.
his cultivation, which that had been how he had been advancing in his power so vastly for his aura control, because it's not
hmm
going into his meridians and feeding his essence channels. And now that it's broken, I think it's going to help, because once you get up in any bigger baddies, and all you have is aura, you kind of go
It's kind of
squish.
it's
So,
kind of felt that way as like he goes and learns and creates stuff and gets a nice little convenient reset button for whatever. Yeah, yeah. Muscles are easier to
but
come
it
back the second and
also,
the third
yeah,
time.
makes more sense for some of the other cover arts throughout the series because I was like, there's no way none of it's going to his meridians. He's not going to end up like that. But as of now, they've been shattered, or the webway has been taken care of.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so uh, yeah, we've got a lot going forward where we helped out the two sons. They're not quite with us. His next goal is to provide a space for all of them to reside, which we have
Hmm.
the dwarven cathedral going up on the salt flats, which
Hmm.
are at the fringe, which stuff is happening there. And I'm a little disappointed we haven't seen any more development of that dungeon. But more to come. I'm sure it will be brought back. Um,
I'm trying to remember back to the Divine Dungeon series. I remember learning about Artorian, and because Dale, it's Mountaindale, like he gets to go to the head honcho as he sprawls out all naked on his pillow platform, smoking his hookah and everything. But do we get to hear? Do you remember hearing about any of the instructors? Like if we get to see like any of his kids come over to Mountaindale to be instructors or
I
anything like
don't
that?
recall.
Um,
I think one of them might have been the Infernal Wing one, but I
mhm,
don't recall. The only thing from him I remember is that I remember Sky Spear, and I remember that he was a head honcho somewhere else. Something happened.
mhm.
Um, the reason he ends up doing what he does with the people he does is because
I
he
was about to
needs
say,
to save
throwing it
his
out
kids.
there, beware, like likely to Divine Dungeon and Completionist Chronicle. Spoilers ahead, trying not to do any Artorian spoilers after book four.
Or three.
Um, After book three, yeah, but like where my mind really starts to get the gears whirling is like you remember how Cal and Danny and the early couple books, like just his growth and project or
Progression.
yeah, progression as he's like learning and everything. We start off with not understanding the fact that two male bunnies will take longer to populate than you know, like we need to have female bunnies to where we meet Artorian in book three, four of the Divine Dungeons series. And like at this point, before we line up with the Divine Dungeon timeline, like just look at how much lore and understanding of cultivation and Cal was doing exchanges for information with Dale, right? And then later on, Artorian's like, "Hey, I want to make a deal." Just think of the type of data dump Artorian gives Cal. Um, yeah, let's see here. White Thatch, the cultivation progression seems to be reshaping from a mana user to a mana generator. That's a good.
That makes some sense because they go from meat space to replacing their body with mana to
Or I
S
think like
rank, which is Dawn, which is a partial elemental, I don't know, I was just born kind of deal.
right.
Yeah, which could generate it.
Artorian arrives in DD Divine Dungeon Book 4. Artorian Archives Book 4 runs along Divine Dungeon Book 4. Thank you for the time sync there, Kara. So 4 is the lucky number of the day. If they sell lotto tickets in your area, we do not condone gambling, but 4 is the lucky number. For your sunshine and love essence. Yeah, I'm super pumped. Should we go back and we may not make content, but like I kind of want to
Yeah,
reread
do a
Divine
refresh.
Dungeon at least up to book 4 before picking up book 4 of
There's a lot
AA.
of potential there.
Yeah, right on. If you guys are interested, let us know either in chat, comments, or Discord. Peter, as if Peter and I need an excuse to go back and
Uh,
re-listen to it.
It's one of the things that I enjoy about Dakota Krout is where he does the Easter eggs. With this involving Dennis Vanderkerken, it's definitely a little more, I guess, stop and smell the roses or fleshed out. Um,
Hold on. Our combat action junkie says he wants to smell the roses. Like,
or
is
well,
that just because they're lit RPG roses with stats and likely have some power up capabilities, or are you just that much of a super fan?
that much of a super fan.
Yes.
Yeah, it was one of the earlier books that really got me into all of it, so it's probably a lot of nostalgia. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. As we said before, I think Divine Dungeon was like one of my first two quote unquote lit RPGs. And it's more fantasy based, but it's definitely lit RPG.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so much goodness, so much goodness. On to the actual book itself. There's just so much fun stuff. The combat and getting to see kind of like the students work their way and defend themselves in our kind of like dungeon crawl with the blight in the beginning. Getting to see like our party members kind of come into their own and the students step up and do some multi cultivation user epicness. I kind of wish we spent more time in with the dwarves and the grand matriarch and everything.
Yeah.
Like I I remember in the Divine Dungeon wishing I got to see more of them because we just get to see the two exiled brothers or whatever for a
Well,
little bit.
and
I know,
Evan,
I
Evan
know.
the dwarf.
You miss your dwarf.
I'm just like
He gets his payout and then he's just like, I'm going on extended vacation.
exactly. And if he's not already written in somewhere, that's okay. If you could bring him back just to be back and have him have some like weird, Cal oriented cheat code where, for example, Completionist Chronicles, he ends up obtaining both races because he is a
Mhm.
halfling. Yeah, could be interesting.
Kara sharing essence between each other so that those who have the skills to help them escape have the energy to do so in the escape from the blight.
Yeah, that
Absolutely.
was pretty interesting as well.
And it just shows like Artorian as like we got to see the different leadership styles between him and the previous master, right? Where, might makes right and our love essence users like all together inclusion, we're not competing against each other. And like with everything we've learned about essence and cultivation is like in the current society in AA, it's like, oh, secrets, like we got to keep this to ourselves, don't share, like don't do anything to take up my essence, right? Like book 1, um they're reserving prime time for the favorites to cultivate the
Well, that
celestial
was more of
energy.
a why we don't like the church
But
checkbox.
back on point, like we get to see Artorian's party and his kids where they're just freely like sharing all this progress that they've accomplished, and Artorian himself, like what is all this power and wealth of essence worth if not for my kids, not for my family, not for my comrades in arms? Like just way to go, Artorian. Like positive vibes, sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, was
Yes,
a different
please.
way of achieving the same thing Dale was trying to achieve. And through the Arturian archives, I've found a new respect for elves, where in the Divine Dungeon, I was like, Yeah, we got to see the Drow or the Dark Elves, and then we got to see the High Elves. And yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the High Elves, but these are Wood Elves, and we always loved dwarves, so
Yeah,
more love for the dwarves.
let's be honest though. Dale's not quite as likable as Artorian is. Like you can just not
No,
help
but
but
yeah.
like the sly
Eh,
old grandpa where Dale
Well,
just rubs everybody
Arturian had a
wrong.
chance to flounder and struggle through it, as well as had one voice of reason being Ember, Dawn, and I guess the other couple voices of the Wood Elves help him along his way.
White Thatch is calling you out. He says gnomes are better than your dwarves.
They have been very seclusive. They seem to be the technological wonder childs, and we all knew that was going to happen.
Gnomes
Um,
rule.
my favorite Dwarven quote is when he's talking about watching the new sky spear be shaped and how it's a dwarf versus a rock, and he doesn't know how the dwarf is winning. So
uh,
it sticks to and embodies their nature.
yeah, again, Kara on our good quotes. Catafron, the old Sky Academy master, might makes right, and Artorian, our sunshine and love grandpa. What's the point of CUP cup,
Or a cup.
aka
It's from book one,
of the cup,
aka
aka
power. If you
power.
have nothing to fill it, yeah.
Yep, yep.
Well, that's another thing I enjoy. Where in book one, it's a big thing, and then in book three here, he's like, "What did I have to put? Uh, something about a cup, or it looks like you've been bashing your head against the rock that your other brother has been lifting, or I put something of the fringe on there anyway."
It's been a minute since I've checked the Mountaindale merch shop. I've been tempted just to like upgrade our nerdy gear as Peter, has his white t-shirts and Menard shirts. We can get some like nerdy
I
gear, but
purposefully,
I
I'm just
want
kind
I
of like
want
a
an
neck shot.
elder
If I
coffee
get
cup.
shirts, I'm gonna have to redo my perspective and actually like be in the shot. But yeah.
Uh, or just pull a whole like Superman just for like and the shirt of the day. Claptrap. Yeah, yeah. Dwarves convincing rocks that they are a wall and winning the argument.
That was
I know some people that might be part dwarf. Um,
this is very true. And I know those people too.
yeah. Do they look like dwarves?
Mm,
Big old beards. Anyway. Um, yeah, so many good quotes. So many good quotes from this book. Um, what are you excited to see moving into book 4? Like,
so knowing that it's gonna meet up with the Divine Dungeon is exciting. I'm curious. So, as my understanding goes, we have three Infernal Cultivators.
mhm.
We have the two who we meet in the arena, as well as Australia. I probably butchered the name, and that's Infernal. I'm curious what to see. What is it, Wuxius, and the other one who's sitting in
Lunella.
the, or
Yeah,
what,
I think Lunella and Wuxius are the ones in the
in
fringe,
the fringe, but we
starting
don't
their
know
family.
what cultivation path they have. So I'm excited to see them
It,
all.
I was about to say, like, it kind of implied that they didn't, right?
Or
Because,
they haven't advanced
yeah,
along it at all. They haven't
right.
been trying, but they've just been focusing on raising the little one. Yeah, which we get the letter at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so
Crackers
yeah,
and
I'm
toast
excited to see them all together. Um,
with our powers combined.
yeah, as well as to see. All right, yeah, we're gonna have to go back through Divine Dungeon to get the true feels. Because I mean,
Yes,
in Divine
please.
Dungeon, he only pops up a couple times when we first meet him. when he has
We
the
get a handful
conversation
of
with
scenes.
Dale and he's
Hmm.
doing the talking about the war, and Dale's just like, I want to make them listen, I want them to do what's right, and he's like, they're not going to. That's not how war works.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to getting a lot of those key scenes from Artorian's perspective and to see kind of the conversations that we didn't have flies on the wall for in the Divine Dungeon series, because it's very much about Cal and Dale, right?
Yeah.
And their synergy, or all that's going on there as Dale goes from a fishy to uh Barrendale or whatnot.
Oh, I was going to say other words, but I can't say those.
Don't want to be too spoilery of DD. Um, yes, thank you always for your support, White Thatch. Thanks for making a forum for LitRPG geeks. Rapidly becoming our favorite subgenre. I still try to drag Peter out to get back to some of our fantasy and classic sci-fi. But yes, and then from the man himself, Dennis Vanderkerken can confirm that the AA/DD/CC series have a massive amount of secret interlinking, many unexplored topics in DD, and CC get their day in AA. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and
And
I can't say it because I don't know, but everybody keeps telling me, "Oh, wait for book 6 when more gets explained and expressed."
yeah, yeah. So I think that's what I love so much about this series, is not just how much I love the individual series themselves, but I think once we get current, um, I know like some of our friends are very much like mood readers, and I can kind of like get into that place, especially with like rereads. And depending on your mood, you can go between the three different series and kind of get more of that fix, right? Like Dakota Krout has a very distinct writing style. So between like the Divine Dungeon, that's more of like your fantasy type element, versus Completion Chronicles, where it's much more kind of like, as you were talking about previously online, like more of a hard lit RPG stat based true game environment with like and then Artorian Archive, like I just epic fantasy, man. Like I want to get lost in the lore, in the rules, and just like how everything comes together. Dennis says every time I receive a series question on the Discord that lacks elucidation, it goes into my Excel doc of doom, and he tackles all of them eventually. I think we just got another good excuse to get on the Mountaindale Press Discord and just start like hitting up Mr. Floof with all our crazy Divine Dungeon series questions now. Want to learn something? Curious how something works? Get it over there on their Discord, and we might be able to read about it in the later books. Yeah, spreadsheets are great.
I
I know.
I have a love-hate relationship with them. They exist. They suck out my life,
You
but
you
they
love
do
to
work.
give me things to put in our spreadsheets to keep track
Yeah,
of
yeah,
for our
you
projects.
can track the spreadsheets. I'm just like, I have 8 million documents, and
uh,
they exist in
White
this current
Thatch
time and space.
said, Dennis, this is why I love the three series. You and Dakota will listen to the reader when something seems out of place and still do it in a way that makes more. Oh, that doesn't make more plot holes. Very important. I catch that word. Tara, yes, you did. Dennis, bring it. Do be warned. We already have a dedicated emoji for any question that is answered in a later book. You may get a few of those. We don't like spoiling people of the good stuff. That's always a risk. So we appreciate people being mindful of that. Kara says Peter's feeling towards spreadsheet is a whole mood. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun binging on this. I am so glad we picked up. I don't know if we got the 8th book, but we got at least 4 through 7 on the last Audible sale.
Yeah, I think 7 was on sale. I don't think we picked up 8 yet.
Yeah, going to get more of our questions answered and more questions to be answered. This book really, I know we didn't get like complete conclusion and satisfaction, but I always appreciate it when authors are able to kind of like tie up plot threads and story arcs while still giving you that sense of completion, yet there's more awesomeness to happen, right?
Book 1 concluded picking up the kids and then left us in the void, so to speak, with what could have come. And then I'm trying to remember the end, or so did book 2, because
book 1 was Lunella and Wuxius,
and then
book 2 Estrella, and then book 3 we don't pick them up,
but we were also left in the worst possible situation. And then we're kind of in a similar sense for the end of 3, where we did but didn't save them, because I was totally like, they could have just jumped on the wagon going out, but they couldn't because the other one was in a different location.
Grimaldus wasn't there, right? And that was part of their, because Grimaldus was that other female mini boss we were talking about.
Okay. Yeah, can't count there, Kara.
Oh, yep. That was our bad. Was it pull up?
Or we were talking about which ones we had purchased or not purchased, and she's saying 8 isn't even out yet.
Wishful
you guys
thinking.
Are buying for the future.
Wishful thinking.
Send you the link.
The future geeks have. They have.
Or we know Dennis is working on book 11 already, so
yes,
it's going to be a thing. It's just this time and space getting in the way.
Thank you, Senpai. More AA goodness. And don't want to do spoilerly stuff, but like the foreshadowing is beautifully done. Like already kind of to see how some of the other different elements are coming together, especially as we learn how much more Artorian knows about the world and the universe, and then just seeing some of the stuff with Completionist Chronicles.
8 is out. Anyway.
Yeah,
thank you. I thought I saw it somewhere. I thought it was the
Artifact.
Epic Bow where
currently, yes. No, people still read physical books. Like, I'm a fanboy. I'm just kidding. We had Carlos on the other week who had some beautiful bookshelves, and I did drool a little bit. But
they're nice, but yeah.
Physical books, my physical book period was when I was in high school, and it was before we had all the awesome like digital powers. So I would carry my big old book and slide it into my textbook as I was reading my Dragonlance. And there we
go.
That old
There's
book
the
smell.
DBZ quote. Thank you there, White Thatch.
Always looking out for us, buddy. We need to invent the hyperbolic time chamber for Dennis and Dakota and immortality. Yes, please.
I hit the heavenly ranks there. So,
but that said, Dennis, Dakota, thank you for being like awesome at releasing books in a timely fashion, like multiple books a year. You just make our lives so happy. Tara, apartments suck for physical book collections.
Well, that was going to be my comment is,
It's the hardest part of my last couple moves. Like they end up just sitting in boxes, but they are easier to regift than digital pieces.
and,
Um,
for, yeah, for other things when you don't have a nice internet connection.
we just appreciate how much you guys are helping us keep the comments popping. Dennis 789 is the game world goodness where Peter will most likely get his proper combat fix, dude.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
Dakota is Acme and Dennis is love. Can we get that on a t-shirt? That is very, very well said. And thank you, sir. We thank you for creating such an amazing space for us to go and play in, and making all our lives just that much brighter and filled with love essence. So we're
Oh,
kind of
that
coming
that
up on.
was an element that I need to do some more digging. Um, when Artorian first wakes up and he's like S equals, and then he says a number, and then the blight guy's like, I think you're confused. Don't you mean why cannot see? Followed by like screaming in despair or something. I need to look up because I know there are several different ways to look at numbers, and there are ways to do conversions between numbers equal letters, and then there are ways to do numbers equal letters equals binary, which then binary equals letters. Anyway, I'm curious. S equals 117.
I think that's on
So,
the ASCII table. Maybe I might have to look at that.
yeah, I
Um,
felt like I missed something there.
yeah, I think it's the ASCII table. I need to check that out. Dennis said, Coda and I have a system down for AA. I am the sole writer, so we get them out faster while Coda works on his CC and other works. Something for everyone. CC has a lot more titles that need to. Um, Carlos, this is too cool. I'm glad I was here. Thank you, everyone. And Dennis, good to see you, Carlos. Good night. Appreciate you stopping by. S equals 117. It's both important, comes back up later. It's a small mystery nobody has figured out yet, just like the secret of eye colors. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum,
Master
bum.
Chief, what? Okay, so yeah, the S equals 117 is something. Haven't quite figured it out yet.
I know Dakota being a programmer, there's always not always, but there's a handful of subtle like programmer jokes. And there I'm trying to think of something like something murder hobo where they were talking about it's like either hexadecimal colors or whatever and all that good stuff. Oh, we got some theories here. 117 is the smallest possible length of the longest side of an, oh my gosh, breaking out my math terms, uh, integer Huronian tetrahedron. So some Kara chipping in with some fan theory. You will also get your answer to what's going on to the fringes scar in either book 4 or 5.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes,
because
yes.
that was my first like causal connection between the two, where I remember the celestial dungeon, which was supposed to be, we had the whole conversation of good thing or bad thing, and then the madness that came with it, and that, like that was, yeah, causal connection, but
Yeah. Well, we super appreciate everyone chilling with us. Try our best to keep these to about an hour or so, though, as always, There's just so much more that we could dive into. Really considering taking White Thatch's suggestion of doing some like whole series breakdown geek outs in the near future. So maybe after we get a little bit further along, we can go back and do the like Divine Dungeon stream where we just like geek out over the whole series. Same with some of the other ones. And then we've also been considering going back and rewatching some of our old stuff, especially as we get closer to the 100 mark, potentially doing some live streams. If you want to join us and laugh at just how awful our production value was and how many times where life was just crazy, both of us being dads here and stuff getting in the way, and be like, you know what, if we do anything, we're just going to show up even if we're unprepared, half tired, completely disorganized, and talk about these books, because hanging out with you guys is like the highlight of our week. So watch for details about those streams coming through. I'm really looking forward to going back and rewatching some of those after we get further in Artorian and being like, I wonder if this is
and
this and that. So yeah, or like seeing how close some of our theory crafting was. Yeah, just so much awesomeness. For August, we're sticking to Sundays as of now. What we got up in the queue for next week, same time, same place, Pete?
So next week we are doing book 6 of Life for Reset Salvation. It is going to be conclusive of the story as our understanding, with potential to breed. I was going to say breed baby books, but that's not what I'm trying to say. Breed life into other books.
Yes.
So this is why you need to listen to audio format. Like, everybody keeps telling me throughout AA, I should have that emotional connection, and there's a lot of tears. This book, there was that tear moment. There was a beautiful musical number, and just the despair or the situation, the feels, and then the music and the audio format sold it for me.
Sound Booth Theater does an amazing job. I'm super pumped. We had to cancel this one. It was one of our midweek streams we were trying to do, and life got in the way. But it's now time to do a reset of our live stream and close out this epic series. And so much fun. If you haven't checked it out, definitely recommend it. Basically, main character, another programmer, did well. Guild leader of one of the main guilds in this game, known as Neo, and his second in command basically busts out a rare item and forces him to change into a monster class. And the only way to get out of it is to re-roll, which then it would unlock he would then lose a lot of his world firsts, badges, stats, stuff like that. So like any logical gamer does, he says, no, forget that noise. I'm going to level up this monster race and get my revenge, because that's what people do. And so much happens between book 1 and book 6. And to just get to see all that epicness, I don't want to do any spoilers of Life Reset beyond that little intro there in book 1, but it's a lot of fun. Think the time I got reincarnated as a slime in a LITRPG book. What would you do if you became leader of a monster village? with all those OP. I was trying to think, do a VGO reference. What was it? Prone Boner 69 or something like that. Anyway.
Or that's a Rogue Dungeon reference, Poner Boner 69.
Thank you. Thank you.
Which then I guess does get brought into VGO as a collaboration event for one of his other ones. Anyway,
so White Thatch, do you know if Shamir Kuznick is going to write for his other series, Earth Dom? So White Thatch, I'd love to hear your take on that series. I've seen it, but I haven't picked it up yet. Back onto the Artorian archives, Dennis says he highly recommends or suggests the power of Excel, or for those of us who live in Google Sheets, when you get into putting AA, DD, and CC together, or you'll become a meme of spiderweb guy with all the strings all over the wall.
Okay, he was suggesting using the
Then share.
application. I was
Yes.
envisioning the power of Excel being like, oh, when King Arthur pulls out the sword and he excels in his pursuit of becoming king, or I can picture it kind of. It's like Excelsior, and like
I think
epic stuff happens.
Mountaindale Press does have a lore master. Maybe if we get some like
they
hardcore,
have a lot of good content for connecting thoughts, and I need to dig a little deeper, but those comments are pinned, so I should be able to find them.
Dennis, yes, I agree, Tara. Dennis is great with yanking out all the feels. Dennis, every time people laugh or cry, I love hearing about it on Discord. Everyone can always feel welcome to come and share. We even have a specific Artorian archive channel for it. Yes.
Yep.
Anybody playing in the space, go hang out with the
Mountaindale Press authors and fans.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a completionist Chronicles analogy, thinking back to where Uncle Tatum made the analogy of the gods.
And the Wood Elf forums, which is a forum.
There we go. Rhoda is the lore master. Kara is also. So when we get ready to string it all together, before we go and apply to be junior lore masters with Rhoda and Kara, Kara, you're on point with all the details. We appreciate it. But yes, content to be made, fan theory to be crafted. We have some work to do to get caught up on the Artorian archive. Peter and I have made a commitment to try to keep rotating these guys in pretty regularly so we can get current with everybody. We
didn't do that the weekend after. We did August 15th, A Blood of Kings, which is the second book in the Shattered Rain region. This book is by Bryce O'Connor and Luke Chimilenko. We know of Luke through our Ascend Online series, which is very LITRPG to the core, more MMO based, does a great, phenomenal job. But this book is very much in Bryce O'Connor's corner of the universe or realm. He does the Wings of War series, which is essentially a dragonkin. He doesn't call them that. He calls them Oxarians or something, and is very fantasy based. They work well together. Very excited about the book. Saw it came out, picked it up, and then haven't had time to go through it yet. So I can't tell you much other than it's shaping up to be an epic fantasy. It is very. It reminds me a lot of the Artorian Archives or Divine Dungeon, where we think we know things, but because the powers are too vast at B, they end up breaking stuff, and our children know nothing. So it feels like that. It feels like there's a lot at play, but there's so much more. And we
Hmm.
do end up with the wise old different race to bring us along. But yeah.
I'm just so excited that like I've tried to get you into some of the epic fantasy stuff that it was just too long-winded. And I think that, one, our love for Luke Chimilenko and his Ascend series kind of gave maybe a bit more maybe patience for kind of the pacing of an epic fantasy.
Well,
But
it's
Luke
different
Chimilenko
because
and Bryce O'Connor just do it so well, though. It reads much more like a modern fantasy lit RPG, but it has the epic fantasy elements to it, right?
I don't know. I'm still a little salty that he's not telling me all the magic goodness.
You
But I
just want
guess
those stats, dump.
well, no, it's yeah, we get to see a lot of cool magic happen, but we don't know how. And for some people, that's fine. For some people, it's like Gandalf the White turning into Gandalf the Gray, or whichever way that actually happens to go. For me, I'm like, okay, so whose hyperbolic time chamber was he in? How much is he actually stronger? And, yeah, but for some
For
people, him showing up and saving the
9,000.
day just counts.
Our scout meter can't even go that high. It's over 9,000. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to it. Closing out one of our favorite series, continuing another series we're enjoying so much. And then yes, it also gives us a couple weeks that if we do want to go play in the Divine Dungeon space and kind of get reacclimated to it. Um, Gosh, before Completionist Chronicles even came out, like I'd go back to the Divine Dungeon series as one of my rereads along with Dune and everything else, like every
That's
6 months.
not true because
It's been a minute for me.
I think it was like book 3 when the first CC got released,
Hmm.
or maybe it was 4. Anyway, aha. Yeah, full Peter with tracking details. I have docs dedicating to catching Easter eggs, referencing series links, foreshadowing. Yeah, for me, it's a lot of that one
That's
guy.
that's that's my kind of geek right there. Like I want to be on that level, but most of my audiobook listening time is when I'm adulting or doing things like, food prep or, household chores, mowing the lawn to where I can't stop and fill out my spreadsheets like I do for rest of life. Um yeah, Kara said we can pick their brain when we get ready to do our fan theory, connect all the dots on the wall.
Feel
Uh,
free to join us
yes,
because,
yes,
yeah.
please. I good. Thanks for clarifying, White Thatch. Earth Force is Shamir Kuznick's other series. Earth Dom is Ryan DeBron series. Not familiar with Ryan. I have seen Earth Force. And typically, once we get hooked by an author, at least for myself, I start picking up all their other stuff. Because typically, if you like one, you like the other, though there have been some outliers out there. So I haven't looked too closely into Earth Force, but
Well,
I
and part
am
of
excited that at the end of Life Reset, they talk about there being more series in the space. Um, yes, smash his mug. Appreciate the love. White Thatch, that's not a geek, that's a nerd. The next evolution of geek, what Kara is doing. We all aspire to that
well,
nerd.
that's a funny side story that I'm not going to get into, but I really wanted the name Talk Nerdy to me, but there's already been the song out about it. There's already a YouTube channel. There's already like everybody already thought of that idea. So Geek on My
Yeah,
Sleeve makes sense. but we almost became Talk Nerdy to me.
We wish, but um, copyright, trademark, all that good stuff. We don't need that kind of bad vibes. But yeah, can't say it enough. Really appreciate everyone who made time to hang out with us live. Cheers, mug smashes all the way around. Tune in next week, same time, same place. See what kind of glasses we'll be wearing.
I'm gonna be doing something with them.
I
I
think you
just
should.
didn't
I think you
quite get it all
should.
together, and I didn't know they existed until yesterday, and I was like, wait, what?
Yes. Guess what, guys? It's not even his final form. Find out more. Get some more epic fantasy lit RPG goodness. Always looking for more people to geek out with. We appreciate you. Did I miss anything, Pete?
I think you botched the thing there.
Yeah,
Isn't
sounds about
it
right.
Frieza who's like, this isn't even my final form? And then the broadcaster at the end is like, tune in next time to see if our beloved Sunshine Mage makes it through, gets his
Pete,
kids
Pete,
together.
Pete, from
Book
the
8
man
is,
himself,
yeah.
Dennis. If you like
We need to
DBZ,
get into the
book
completionist
8 is your
chronicle arc
tea.
of Artorian archives.
Yes,
I would agree,
yes.
but we got to get there.
Challenge accepted.
Yep. Alrighty. Thank you, and hope to geek out with you guys here soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.